ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। हरि ओम। Sorry to keep you waiting. So we are seeing the negation of the five koshas. The Annamaya kosha, the food sheath, we saw from 154 till 162, the negation. The last one which we saw said that until this notion that I am the body does not go, even the talk of liberation will not happen for somebody who may be even a very wise scholar or a great learned person. Now moving ahead, he says, Chaya sharire pratibimba gatre yat swapna dehe hridi kalpitange yathatma buddhistava nasti kachit jivat sharire cha tathaiva mastu. So now he gives four examples that how in a shadow, chaya sharira, not chaya, yeah, in a shadow body, pratibimba gatre, in a reflected body, swapna dehe, in the dream body, and hridikalpitange, in a imagined body. In these four, yatha atma buddhi na asti, we don't have a feeling of I-ness in this. In the same way, jivat sharirecha tathaiva mastu. In this, our physical body also, we must not have this feeling of I-ness, that I am this. So what does this mean? What is our relationship with the shadow? As we are moving, whenever the light, the body is obstructing the light, then there is a shadow which is formed. On the shadow, if somebody spits, or if somebody offers a garland, or if some car passes by, we don't feel affected at all. That, oh, this happened to me. We know it is a shadow body. That is not me. If you see some of the videos of the small children, it's very entertaining. Very small children who don't know what is a shadow sometimes get very intimidated. What is this which is coming with me everywhere? So because they don't know, and they think that something is following them, and they are very intrigued by that. But for elders, adults, we don't feel any such thing, because one knows that I am not that, and that's just a shadow. That's not the real entity at all. Nothing is happening to me. So in that way, this shadow body, chaya sharire, pratibimba gatre, in a reflected body. So in the mirror, when we see the body, if something is done to the mirror, or let us say the mirror has dust, then our image also will appear very dusty. Or if there is a crack in the mirror, then it appears as though my face is cut, is split. But then nothing has happened to me. The medium is having a problem. not I. So Chaya Sharire, Pratibimba Gatre, so many people on the road when we are walking, and the car which is there, one stands to look at the face in the car, the glass of the car, window pane of the car. And one combs the hair, straightens the hairs. So many things one does. That window pane may be black because that sun controlled film will be there. So the complexion of our face also changes. But one never feels that, oh, I have become that. Because one knows that is just a reflecting medium. So whether it is shadow body or a reflected body, Chaya Sharire, Pratibimba Gatre, Swapna Dehe, the body that we take up in the dream state. So the dream body, yes, but the fact is that in the dream when one is there, it appears real. But when one thinks about it as a dream body, then we don't give it reality. That this is not me. It was not at all me, in fact. It was just an illusion. The whole dream world was an illusion. So the sense of I-ness in that one dream character is understood to be an illusion. This is not real. Because one has woken up. So Yat Swapna Dehe, Hridikalpitange, or an imagined body. Imagined body means when one imagines, I have become so thin, or I have become so handsome, or I have become so with 8 packs. One imagines. One knows that that is not true. So all these 4 examples, in that the reality we don't give at all to these 4 bodies, but these bodies exist. They are all considered to be illusion. So shadow body exists, imagined body exists, reflective body exists, and one more is dream body. All these 4, they exist and they are used also, but one knows that I am not this. Very clearly one knows. And that's why one remains unaffected. Whatever be the condition of these bodies, nothing happens to me. In the same way, Yathatma Buddhis Tavana Asti. How we don't have a sense of I-ness in these 4 bodies, they do exist. Now, interesting thing in this, all the 4 analogies is, for all these 4 to exist, the real one has to exist. The real one appearing as these 4. The real one is appearing as the shadow body. The real one is imagined and reflected in the mirror. It's the real one which is lying on the bed and then the dream is happening. And again, it's the real one who is imagining himself or herself to be in a particular way. So when we say Atma Buddhi should not be in these 4, withdraw it from these 4 and engage in that one which is real. So in this context, what are the reflections? Body, mind, intellect, they are the shadow body, reflective body, dream body, imagined body. All the 4 examples can be applied to the layers of our personality. All the 5 koshas, gross body, subtle body, causal body, they all are like this. The real I, which is the self, is like this real body, which is not these 4. But all these 4 are based on this real body. Same way, one self is appearing as all this. So withdraw the attention from the unreal and apply it to the real. Now going a little deeper on these 4 analogies which are there. So Chaya Sharira, like how we remain equanimous as far as the shadow is concerned, it doesn't bother us at all. Whether somebody puts flour on it or somebody spits on it, it makes no difference. So if I learn to live with that equanimity, with respect to this body also, Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni, in the Gita it is said, Tulya Nindastuti, one who is equanimous in praise and in insult. Shitoshna Sukha Dukheshu, Samaha, who is equanimous in heat and cold. So if I consider this body itself like a shadow body, then whatever people do to this body, I should remain unaffected. That's the learning out of this. Sadhana part is that somebody may put a garland on this body, praise the individual, and somebody may criticize also. In both, one remains equanimous because one knows this is not me. So that is as far as shadow body is concerned. With the shadow body, how we remain unaffected and equanimous, in the same way we have to do with this body. In the world, people praise, they criticize, that they will keep doing. Initially, one may feel elated also, one may feel sad also. That depends on how much identification one has. If somebody who is very dear to me comes and praises, one feels very good. And that person criticizes, one feels bad also. Because there is one attachment. Some unknown person comes and praises, one takes it at face value and moves on. Same way that person criticizes, makes not much of an impact. I may listen, I may even think about it. If I need to take something and learn out of it, learn. Otherwise, psychologically, I don't feel less or low. So that same thing we have to do when we apply to the individuality itself. This body plus the jiva who is inside. Learn, we have to be equanimous. Why should I be equanimous? Because only when I'm equanimous, I can withdraw the attention from this shadow body and apply on the real one. Otherwise, the mind will be occupied with this praise and criticism and all the pairs of opposites. And it will think that this body is real. This jiva is real. So if I want to turn my attention to the real self, then I have to learn to be equanimous. Equanimity is the most important, one of the most important conditions to turn within and to contemplate on the self. So chhaya sharire. Then pratibimba gatre. In the reflected body, if I want to see a better reflection, then what should I do? The mirror must be clean. If there is dust on the mirror, if the mirror is broken, then I have to replace the mirror or I have to clean the mirror. So a lot of desires and selfishness and greed and kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, they all are covering this mind of ours. And so the reflection of consciousness in this mind is very mild. I cannot see clearly. Like if you see a mirror for a long time which has not been used, in a house or wherever else, it will accumulate dust and it will even have some oily things. And one needs to put soap and then clean. So it is carrying it from the atmosphere, is just sitting on it, accumulating continuously. For many, many days, if that house is not opened, not cleaned, then it will catch all that. And then when one goes and stands, sometimes one will not even know that, oh, this is a mirror, because it is so thickly coated with all the dust and everything there. So in the same way, the purer our mind is, the mind is a mirror here. The deeper will be our realization that, I am that pure consciousness, I am not this body at all. I am not this mind also. Like the person is not the reflection and the person is not the mirror also. Person is completely different. In the same way, the self is different, mind is the reflecting medium, and the image that we carry about ourselves is the reflection. I am neither the image, I am neither the reflecting medium. So that is about Pratibimba Gatra, the reflected body. So equanimity we learn from the shadow body. Purity of mind is what we learn through the Pratibimba Gatra, reflected body. So all the sadhanas which help to purify the mind, which help to remove kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, those have to be attempted like how we clean this mirror. So if the coating is light, then you just blow it, it will go. If the coating is heavy, then we have to wipe it. If it's still heavy, then you put soap, water, and then cleanse it. So it depends on what level of impurity is there in our mind. Then the intensity of sadhana differs accordingly. So that is Pratibimba Gatra. Then comes Swapna Deha, the dream body. Now what is the learning from the dream body? As long as the dream appears real, the dream body also appears very real. But when we wake up, then we realize that I was not this at all. And also the fact is, in the dream body, not only my body, but every other body in the dream, including of inanimate things, whether it is hills and stones, river, whatever it is. All of those bodies are made up of only one mind, which is the waker's mind. So the lesson to learn from here, the dream body, is that whatever is being seen in this whole world, all the bodies in this world are nothing but this one pure consciousness. So the identification that I have with this, only I am this, only this, that can go when I expand my vision that all this is a manifestation of one. So that's actually a form of meditation, where one sits and imagines all the different types of bodies are expression of only one truth, and I am that one truth as consciousness. Even at the matter level, if we see all the bodies are made up of same 5 elements, there's no difference. Only the combination of this 5 elements and the 3 gunas, that makes all the variety and all the difference. Otherwise, the raw material is the same, and the consciousness enlivening is also the same. And consciousness only is appearing as all this raw material also. So it is one. So instead of identifying with one body in the dream, when the person knows, oh, this entire thing was my mind only, that is a sadhana. And while living here, one understands that I am not this body, I am that truth which is manifesting as this one body and as all the other objects in the world. That's why I said akhanda mandala karam vyaptam yena characharam. That which is unbroken is that consciousness which pervades this whole universe of sentient and non-sentient things. So with this dream body, one understands the Sarvatma Bhav, that I am not this, I am all this. I am not this one thing, but I am everything. So shadow helps us to remain equanimous. Reflected body helps us to do the sadhana to purify the mind. And obviously then negate that I am not the reflection, I am not the reflecting medium. Same way I am not the shadow body. Then the dream body helps us to understand that I am not this one equipment, but all this is a manifestation of that one truth. So expand the vision. Like how we have different parts of this body, eyes and hands and legs and stomach and lungs and so many parts, different parts. Each of them does different job. But the sense of I pervades the whole body, that I am this. We don't say, no, I am only the top half of the body, bottom half is not mine. We don't disown it. Nor we have any less identification. We say, I am this full body. But what we are doing in the world, identifying only with one body, is like saying I identify with only one, let us say, finger. And we say, I am this finger. But what about the rest of the body? No, that is not me, that is separate. So in the same way, this whole universe is my body, which is what our Vedanta also tells us. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. The Virat Rupa of Bhagwan, or the pure consciousness, is this. The entire universe of names and forms constitutes the Virat. All the minds put together constitutes the total mind, which is the Hiranyagarbha. And then all the causal bodies put together is called Ishvara. So now at the physical level, it is literally true also that every single body in this universe is part of the Virat, which is nothing but the cosmic person, which is me as the Virat. So the third is to drop my identification. And then the fourth one is Hridikalpitange, the imagined body. This imagined body is what one imagines that I want to be like this, or how nice it will be if I become like this. So there is an imagination, that there is a thought process behind it. Oh, this is what I should be, or this is how I will look. Sometimes one imagines that so that one can work towards it and achieve that goal. Sometimes one imagines that because one knows that this is not possible for me, but at least let me think like this and derive some joy out of it. So it is concerned with it is a self-image. One can reach that, or one may not be able to reach that, but one wants to be like that. In either case, one wants to be like that. So what is the learning out of this body? The learning out of this body is that, do I want to be that seeker who identifies with everything and drops the identification with one? Like how a great master lives. One imagines, okay, this is how a Sthita Prajna lives. Equanimity, fearlessness, detachment, sense control, all these are the beautiful qualities. And this is how the master lives. So in that way, one can inculcate, because what I continuously visualize, that I will internalize and that I will realize outside. That's the law of attraction. And that's how the mind also works. From the subtle to gross, always. Every creation is from subtle to gross. So if in my mind I go on imagining, it will happen. Sustained thought leads to action. Now, as far as this shloka is concerned, this imagined body, so if I'm using this as a means of visualization and realization, then that's a different learning altogether. But in this context, just as we know that imagined body is not real, in that way one has to understand here that this physical body is also an imagined body. Imagined body is not real. What happens to the person who is imagining, that person is real. That image is not real. But as far as the law of attraction is concerned, then in that case, yes, one has to consider that to be real, then the mind will reach there. So that's a different part altogether. Let's not mix this up, that with this. As far as Vedantic implication is concerned, we know that the imagined body is not at all real. In the same way, one has to understand that this body, which I think is so gross, is so real to me, it is so tangible and real. This is also an imagined body. Just like the other three, shadow body, dream body, and this reflected body, none of those are real. This also is not real. But what happens is the power of thought makes it appear real. So that's why this imagination has to be understood as an imagination and not as reality. Like how we see the movie. We know it is an imaginary thing happening. It is not real at all. But it has a semblance of reality. And those who identify a lot with it, then they go through all the emotional ups and downs in the movie. So you see people crying also, laughing also, going through so many emotions. Because their identification is there. But actually it is imaginary. There's nothing happening there. So in that same way, the mind can imagine, this is the body, this is real. And then when I identify with it, then I also go through up and down, whatever that image goes through, whatever the entity goes through, I feel I'm going through all that. But when one understands, no, this is not real at all. So that is a Vedantic implication. So these four aspects, four types of bodies, four different types of learnings out of this. And the Vedantic aspect is one should know that how these four bodies are there, they operate also, and we engage with them also. But deep down we know this is not real. But we still have a functional utility, we still use. We see a reflection in the mirror, we will correct, we will put a makeup, we will remove some black mark, we will beautify the face. So that reflection has a functional utility. We don't, we don't identify our psychological self-image with that of the reflection. Our self-image depends only on the real, this I, this body, and not the reflected image. But in real life, that is not happening like that to us. Real life meaning in Vedantic terms, that is not happening like that. I am considering this body to be real. It's like considering the image to be real, the reflected image to be real. So the reflected image is not me. I am something else. Consciousness reflecting in the mind, and then this body is formed. I am not this reflected image. I am that consciousness. So just as we engage with it and we know it is a functional thing, we don't take it psychologically. We know the shadow is there, but nobody protects the shadow. We walk safely. Suppose we are crossing a traffic signal. Then we look at the signal, and when it becomes green, then we start walking. In case while I was walking and I could not complete, and that signal turned red and the traffic started moving, maybe one or two vehicles may pass. So what do? I quickly go and move to the footpath. I'm not going to carry this shadow with me, wondering, oh, where is my shadow? Did it come across or not? The vehicles may go on it, it makes no difference. So it just a functional identity, a functional role it has. Oh, there's one shadow which is there. But in the Vedantic aspect, when we see this body, we don't consider it as the shadow. We consider this body is only I. So the point to understand is all these four bodies. A dream body, we don't expect happiness out of a dream body. When we wake up, we realize that it didn't exist also. But every night in the dream, one dreams, because that's a natural process of emptying the mind. So each of them have one utility. But background of our mind, we know that none of these are me. I am completely different from this. That is what we have to do. That not the body, not the prana, not the mind, not the intellect, not the bliss sheath. None of these five koshas are me. These are all appearances of only one supreme consciousness, and that is my true nature. So that is the learning. So this is how the Annamaya kosha gets negated. It's a very unique verse. These four examples are not there in the Upanishads or any such literature. Shankaracharya has given this very uniquely, and it's very practical because we go through all these four bodies knowing it is illusory. The same thing we have to apply to this body also. Go through this body, meaning go through the world, the transactions in the world through this body, but without giving sense of reality to this, because this is not real. That's how the negation happens, that I am not this. Now the last verse for this section. So now what does he say? Dehatmadhire vandrinama sadhyam janmadi dukkha prabhavasya bijam yatastatastvam jahi tam prayatnat tyakte tu chittena punarbhavasha. So what does he say? Dehatmadhire vandrinam asadhyam. Identifying with this false notion that I am this body, Dehatmadhi, is unreal. Janmali dukkha prabhavasya bijam. This is the root cause, the seed of the sorrows caused by repeated birth and death. Janmali dukkha. Adi means birth, growth, change, old age, decay, death, all those. So all the modifications and the sorrows arising out of it are because I consider this body as I and I think that is real, but actually that is not real. Yatas tadastvam jahima prayatnat. And because of this, what should I do? If I want to end sorrow, the root cause must be eliminated. That root cause will go how? Only by great effort. It doesn't go just by that, just like that. So some people think that in time I will understand by itself. That millions of lives have gone, we have not understood that by ourselves. It will not happen by ourselves just like that. One has to put effort, one has to take out time, go attend satsangs, reflect, think about it, meditate, live in self-control. Is all effort required. Automatically it will not happen. You know, Gurudev used to say that old age comes by passage of time. Maturity comes only by reflection. The more I reflect about the basic fundamental truths of life, who am I, from where have I come, where do I have to go, what is my destination, why am I doing all this, what I'm doing, those fundamental questions one has to think and put efforts to find the answers for it. So that is called prayatna. Yatas tatastvam jahitam prayatnat. So some people think it will happen on its own. As we grow, natural wisdom will come. Natural wisdom to live in the world may come. But to drop the false identification, the initiation into this knowledge through satsang, through some master, somebody is required. It is not possible otherwise. Or some people think that, okay, if my guru will touch me, then I will realize the truth. Nothing will happen. Even if the guru touches and one experiences that state for some time, by the power of guru sadhana, not our sadhana, then also the moment that is withdrawn, the person again comes back to the same. So there is no other solution except putting effort. That I have to put effort, convince myself that this is what is my true nature and I am not this body. That effort has to come again and again, continuously. Then this, because the identification is very deep. So jahitam prayatnat. Then what happens? Tyakte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. Only when this identification caused by the mind, chitta, is dropped, tyakte tu chitte na punarbhavasha. There is no rebirth for that person. So the identification has to go. And to remove that identification is the spiritual Vedantic sadhana. It is not actually to acquire, it is to renounce. Tyakte tu chitte. Jahi. So these two words are beautiful. Third line says Jahi. Jahi means drop. And Tyakta also means to renounce, drop. So the sadhana is to drop the baggage, drop the vasanas, drop the false identification, drop the ego. Keep on dropping. Tyage naike amritatva manasho. Only by tyaga one attains that supreme. And hence it is that this portion he ends here by concluding that this body identification is the root cause of sorrow. And that sorrow born out of birth and death. Repeated birth and death is happening because of the notion that I am this body. This false identification with the body that I am this has to be completely eliminated. If I want to experience permanent happiness and if I want to be free from the sorrows of this birth and death. So it's very interesting here. Birth and death by itself are not the problem. Because Bhagwan also is born, Bhagwan's body also drops. But the awareness of the truth is always there in the Lord. That's why it's called avatar. But when a jiva takes birth, it is called punarjanma. Because jiva is influenced by karma and jiva is ignorant. Because of the avidya and karma, the jiva takes birth again and again. Because the jiva has forgotten himself or the identity, the jiva thinks of himself or herself as this body and then suffers. So if suffering of samsara has to be removed, it is not birth and death which has to stop. It is the ignorance which has to be eliminated. So by itself, birth and death is not a problem. The problem is of not knowing the self. And the problem is because I don't know the self, then I think I am this one body. Like all those, for example, if I think that I am those bodies, then I will go through a great deal of stress. The shadow body, the reflective body, the dream body, and the imagined body. If I think I am that, there will be a big problem after that. But the fact is, I know, effortlessly, I know that I am not those. That effortlessly, I should come to know that I am not this entity, but I am that consciousness, which is manifesting as all these entities, appearing as all these entities. So how will I get out of that? By prayatna. Jahimam prayatna. Put great efforts. So any of those four analogies also I can use in my contemplation to understand that how that is not real, this is also not real. Or I can just tell myself every day as much as I can remind, I am not the body, I am not the body, I am not the body. Earlier I had shared this, that how Ramana Maharshi, he summarized Vedanta in 4 words. Koham, who am I? If I do this who am I inquiry, some answer will come. I am so and so, son of so and so, or this is my qualification. Some identity will come up. So one has to negate that. Koham, identity which comes up is Deham. One has to negate. Naham, I am not this. Then who am I? Soham. I am that pure consciousness. So one can even do this sadhana. Koham, Deham, Naham, Soham. Not mechanically repeat Koham, Deham, Naham, Soham, Koham, Deham, Naham, Soham. No. This is the process of asking, inquiring, who am I really? That is one part. So I can inquire saying, who am I? And any answer that comes, I reject. And I say that I am that pure consciousness. So that is one part. Or I can keep asserting Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Just the assertion part. This is negation and assertion. Or you just negate, like he says here, Jahi. You just drop. Not this, not this, not this, not this. I am not the body and its modifications. I am not the thoughts and its modifications. Because I can see all of them. I am a Sakshi of all of them. I can see the changes in the body. So I am that Chidananda Rupa which is Sakshi. So then I can use that part, whichever appears. But what Shankaracharya ji says here is that really that effort has to be put because the body identification is very, very deep. And one of the times it gets tested is when I am not well. When the body goes through sickness and pain, at that time can I remember specifically that yes, I am not this body. That shows how much it has gone deep inside. The sadhana, how effective it is, that will show at that time. Like a devotee, when the devotee goes through pain, will remember the Lord more. That shows how much the devotion at other times has been practiced regularly, that this has gone very deep into the mind of this devotee. Tomorrow is holy, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, today and tomorrow. So Prahlad was tortured so much by Hiranyakashipu. The more he is tortured, the more the name of Bhagavan comes out. Why? Because at other times he has put that effort, he has put this, done the sadhana, and the name of the Lord has gone very deep into his mind, and he has that strong faith. So in the same way, for a Vedantic student, the thought that I am not the body and I am pure consciousness, as one keeps repeating again and again and lifts one's mind to that bhav, in the difficult time where the body is going through sickness and pain, etc., and one will know how much deep it has gone. Am I able to stand apart, do what is needed, take care of the body, give the medicine, give the right food, all that. But I am not this. That thought of distancing should come at that point in time. Then that shows this is my sadhana. And one can apply this even at the good times. When one is enjoying, let us say there's a nice party, one has achieved some success, one has called so many people and a lot of people are there to enjoy. Even at that time, one part of the mind, if it says this is all an illusion, this is not real, play the role. Just like an actor knows that this is only a role, but the actor will play the role to the best of his ability, knowing very well that the whole movie is an illusion. That's how one lives. That whether in success or in failure, in good state or in a sickness, either of this, the mind holds on to the thought, I am not this. Will it not make this superficial? Will we not lose interest? See, just like I said, those 4 examples, we know that those are illusory, but we still engage. Knowing it is illusory, we can remain unaffected and still engage. That's the point. We will not become disinterested if I have the right attitude. A person, let us say Amitabh Bachchan is playing the role of a beggar, he will play the role of a beggar to perfection. People will cry also, what a poor condition he has come into. But deep down he is able to play that role so well because deep down he knows that I am not this. That is a state one has to achieve. With the proper clarity, one knows, okay, this is a role, and for the playing of this role, I must do this. Don't the actors do so much of research also? They, to get into that character, they will do so much of research and they understand the mindset and the lifestyle and the mannerisms and everything they will study so much, or they are given a brief. And then that input they keep in the mind and then they act as though they are that person. Some of them even change their looks and their body to suit that character. So the body, the speech, the expressions, movements, everything will come according to that character. But they are able to do that very well because they know that I am not this body. I am not this role, sorry. Same thing we have to do. We don't have to become indifferent. I don't care what is all this. Anyway, it's an illusion. In the illusion, there is a relative reality to the illusion. I have a role to play in this illusion. And I have to live that role properly, knowing very well I am not this role. So at every single moment, as I am living, I have to falsify the the notion that I am this body. I should know that I am a role. I am only playing this role. I am not this. So if I am not the body is very difficult to apply, then apply this fact that I am only a role. This is only a role. I am something else. So the role part of it will keep it very clear that, okay, as a role, I have to play this role. So how do I prepare myself? What should I do? What should I not do? I should be very clear with that. Because many times people misunderstand this. An illusion means then how will we live our life? And then they think that escapism will happen. So one is scared of Vedanta. But that wrong notion and not having proper clarity, that is creating confusion, not the knowledge of Vedanta. So now with this, the Annamaya Kosha negation ends. Now we go to the next kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. So what is Pranamaya Kosha? The vital air sheet that pervades this body and around this body. So what is prana? Prana is not air or oxygen. Prana is life energy, vital energy. And this vital energy which sustains life is there in all the 5 elements. In space, air, fire, water and earth, in all the 5 elements this prana exists. When we did the Pranamaya Kosha, we have discussed in detail, so I won't go into that part. So this Pranamaya Kosha is what keeps this Annamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha together. The mind operates in this body because it is connected to the body through the Pranamaya Kosha. So prana we get through air, through food that we eat, through sunlight we get exposure to through the water we drink, and through the upvas, fasting. So these are 5 methods to absorb prana from the 5 elements. So what we do is we equate life to the manifestation of prana. As long as the prana is there, the body is functioning, we say, okay, the person is alive. When the prana departs from the body, breathing stops, circulation, assimilation, digestion, all those physiological systems, they stop. So what we equate is life is equal to prana. No doubt prana is a vital energy, but that ability of prana to sustain life comes from consciousness. Prana by itself does not have it. So when I say that I am this Pranamaya Kosha, what is the identification with the Pranamaya Kosha? Like the identification with the gross body, Annamaya Kosha is I am this body. So I am tall, young, dark, handsome, thin, all those. That false identification has to go saying I am none of those. That is image of the body, not me. In the same way with Pranamaya Kosha, what is my identification? I am this hungry person, I am this thirsty person. My digestion is not going well, or it is going well, any such thing. Though identified with the pranas, my sense of I gets connected to these. So now why is it that I am not the Pranamaya Kosha? See this. Karmendriyai panchabhiranchitoyam prano bhavet pranamayastu koshaha yena atmavannamayonna purnaha pravartate sau sakala kriyasu. So karmendriyahi panchabhiranchitoyam. These 5 organs of action, along with prana, 5 pranas, they constitute the Pranamaya Kosha. Because prana is responsible for action. So senses of action plus 5 pranas is Pranamaya Kosha. Senses of knowledge plus mind and intellect is the Manomaya and Vijnanamaya Kosha. Prano bhavet pranamayasya kosha. Yena atmavan annamayo anupurna. This food sheet is anupurna. It is pervaded by this pranamaya kosha. So this gross body has a form. And this form is enlivened inside, or not enlivened, empowered with the prana. So prana also pervades this entire body. And prana is of energy which pervades around the body also. So it is more subtler. It is a pranamaya kosha which identifies with the body and connects the mind to the body. And it is a pranamaya kosha which cuts the connection of the mind to the body, and then that subtle body departs. So this is what the pranamaya kosha's function is. So yena atmavan annamayo anupurnaha. Pravartate asau sakala kriyashu. And because of the pranamaya kosha that this body can function and do all actions, including the smallest one of, let us say, blinking the eye or moving a finger. All this is possible only because prana exists. Once the prana departs from this body, no movement, nothing will happen. The body is just dead, inert. So now this is just the description of prana. Now why is it said that I am not the pranamaya kosha? So he says, Naivatmapi pranamayo vayu vikaraha ganta ganta vayu vadantar bahireshaha yasmat kinchit kvapi na vettishtamanishtam swambanyam va kinchana nityam paratantraha. He says, Naiva Atma api pranamaya vayu vikara. First reason is, it is only a modification of air. Vayu vikara. It is not. So that itself, so it is not the self because it constantly changes and it is one of the elements, Vayu vikara. Pure consciousness is that which is changeless and it is beyond the five elements. Using the power of Maya, this consciousness is appearing as five elements. So it is not consciousness because it is changing. It is one of the elements. It is finite. Ganta aganta, Vayuvat antar bahiresha. It comes in and it goes out. So we inhale it, we exhale it, not only through air, but even water. We take in water, we leave out water. So prana we consume and we give out. So the energy goes in, energy comes out. Continuously this change is happening. Yasmat kinchit kvapi na vetti ishtam anishtam. It does not know the joys or the sorrows. It is jada, it is inert. It has no awareness at all. Because it is just prana, it's just energy. Energy is inert. But if the consciousness enlivening that prana, then that prana gets capability to function as though it becomes alive. Enlivened, not alive, enlivened. It's like the bulb. By itself, it cannot do any light. It will not give any electricity, no light, nothing. If electricity empowers that bulb, then that tungsten filament, then there will be light and then the bulb is capable of giving light. So the real energy came from the electricity, not the filament, not the shape of the bulb, nothing. Electricity is the real source of the light. In the same way, the prana, it comes and goes. And it is inert, it doesn't know. Swam va anyamba, kinchana na vetti. Does not know what is good, what is bad, what is. That's why even when we are sleeping, pranas are functioning. If a thief enters, the prana will not even know. It cannot even tell, array, some thief has entered. Because it's just prana, it's just inert. And it is doing its job because of consciousness. It doesn't have any other capabilities. So it is inert, it is changing, it is finite. And nityam paratantraha. It is constantly dependent upon the self. Because it does not have its own power. That's why the seeker in the Kenopanishad is asking that question. That prompted by what? Kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha. That how does this prana function? Prompted by what? Because by itself it is jada vastu. It's an inert power. Inert power has no intelligence to use and apply by oneself. Because there is no entity to apply. Like solar power, thermal power, nuclear power, these are all inert powers. Some sentient entity is required to create it and to use it. Otherwise, by itself, it's just a power. It can't do anything. Same way as a prana, it's just a power. An entity is required which makes that prana function. So obviously, prana is different from me. So the false identification here goes in this sense that I am not a body. sorry, I'm not hungry, I'm not thirsty, I'm not, those are the qualities of prana. Also, it goes when I understand that I am that consciousness which enlivens this prana, because of which body appears alive. So with the death of the body, prana does not die, nor the pure consciousness dies. So these two koshas, we have completed the negation of these two. Now tomorrow we will take up the manomaya kosha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.